again, and welcome back to mini masterclasses for the French horn. This week we're going to go over some concepts that we talked about last week and also add in a few new ones so that you have more things to practice going forward and you can continue to get better at our instrument. So, like last week, before we even start to play, we want to make sure we're sitting up with our best posture, nice and tall. We want to make sure that when we bring our horn up, we're bringing our horn up to us. The mouthpiece comes up to our face and we are never putting our horn down, whether it's next to us on the chair or on our leg, and then going to the horn. We want to make sure it comes up straight to where we're sitting with our best posture so that we have a nice uninterrupted airstream and that we're not creating tension anywhere. Okay, so always remember, bring your horn to you, then adjust your leg or the pillow on the side of your chair or your arm position. All right? One important thing that we should go over this week is the position of our right hand in our bells. It's kind of weird because we're the only instrument that puts our hand in our bells that I can think of right now. And it's important that we do it right because we do it for a reason. Traditionally, horn players had to have their hands in their bells to make notes because we didn't have the valves. But nowadays, it's important to have our hands in the bells because it helps us with our tuning. You know, we have the benefit of being able to adjust our hand tuning-wise if we need to, and it also helps us have our best tone quality, that nice quintessential horn tone quality that's nice and round and full, okay? So it's important that we do this right. For hand position, want to make sure your hand is like a handshake, okay? Just with your thumb on top, okay? Instead of having your thumb out in the open, a handshake with your thumb on top, this way. Now from here, you want to cup your hand just a little bit and put your hand in the bell on sort of the opposite edge from you. And you want to put your hand in as far as it takes to get to the first knuckle on your right thumb, having that kind of lined up with where your bell throat starts to taper inwards, okay? So if our hand's like this, a little bit cupped, we want to make sure we put it in on the opposite edge from us and only as far as where the first knuckle on our thumb starts meeting where the bell throat starts to taper in. As you can see, that's going to create a lot of room for our sound to come out of our horn, but it's also going to be affecting our sound and give us that tone quality we want and give us the best chance of tuning our notes and having really good centered pitches. Okay, so think handshake, thumb on top, cup a little bit, other side of the bell, and you'll have a nice open space for you to get your best sound. Today, what we're going to be working on is our chromatic scale. Now, you've heard of major and minor scales. The chromatic scale is the scale that we use that includes every pitch. And you can start the chromatic scale on any note because it's all the same notes and it just involves basically learning each chromatic step and kind of finding where that pattern starts, wherever the note starts. Now, today we're going to be working on our concert B-flat chromatic scale, starting on that note. We'll start on our concert B-flat, which for us is our F, because horn is a transposing instrument. Now, it can be tricky to adjust to learning what the transposition is from concert pitch to horn pitch at first, so I wanted to go over that a little bit. It's okay if you don't understand this all the way today, it's just meant to be an introduction, but if you do understand, that's great. Just know that the only way to get this into your brain is to sort of kind of think it over and over, because it can be a little bit tricky. So, when we play our C on the horn, just our written C, whether it's the one below the staff or the one 3 spaces up on the staff, what actually sounds is a concert F, okay? So if we're playing our C up here, the sounding pitch is a concert F. And what you want to think of is that we kind of have to close the gap and find what interval is in between here that is the difference between the two notes, and that's going to give us the key to finding our pitch from each concert pitch. So, because the written note is always higher than the sounding note, we're going to say, this is our C, concert F. Now, to get up from F to C, we are thinking F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so from F to C, and I'm just playing along with the vowels because that helps me visualize. If you're a piano player, that might help you visualize as well. We're thinking I don't want to give the answer away, but if we're thinking C is up here and F is down here, to get from F to C, F, G, A, B, C. That's 5 notes. So it's a perfect fifth to get from F to C. And if F is the concert pitch, what we're hearing, that means any concert pitch, you want to count 5 notes up, and that'll give us the note we should be playing. So for example, concert F, F, G, A, B, C, our C. For concert G, you could think G, A, B, C, D. So we would play our D scale if someone says concert G major. And for concert B flat, if you're thinking in the key of B flat with 2 flats, it would be B flat, C, D, E flat, F. And we already know that our B flat is, concert B flat is our F. Okay, so just think whatever the concert pitch is, count up 5 notes, count up a perfect fifth, and that's the note that we should be playing as horn players. And like I said, that was very confusing to me at first, so it helps for me to kind of visualize it in different ways, and eventually you'll find the way that clicks for you, or you will get enough repetition that you'll know it like that. And trust me, once you get the practice of thinking through that, it's not going to be as hard anymore. So today we are working on the chromatic scale, but before we even get started playing, let's take 3 big breaths just to remind ourselves what it feels like for our air to be working and make sure that we have good support. So here's the first one, second one, and third one. Awesome. Remember, you always want to be relaxed when you breathe. And also, if you tend to feel a little stressed or nervous before you play, it's another great plus to breathing because it'll help calm you down and really center you and focus you in for whatever you're about to play. So working on the chromatic scale, it's a completely different scale quality than what you might have heard of with a minor or a major scale, because a chromatic scale is made up only of half notes. Every half note that's available to us on the horn. All right? Between each octave, like from concert B flat, which is our F and where we're going to be starting today, from F to F, there's 12 chromatic notes, not including that top note. And that's the same for every octave, every low to high octave. From C to C, there's 12 chromatic notes, not including that top C, because we're using all the half steps that we have. If you're a piano player, or if you can imagine a piano, visually, you'll just think of all the keys that you could hit, white and black, within each octave, okay? And that's always going to be 12. And the good thing about a chromatic scale is that even though you can start it on every pitch, once you learn the general pattern and once you're familiar with all your half steps, it becomes a lot easier to start it wherever you want. And we'll work on that a little bit later after we work on just the concert B flat, our F version. So there's 12 notes in the chromatic scale. You can break it up a variety of ways, in groups of 3 or in groups of 4. I think for today, we're going to break it up in groups of 4. So the first grouping we would have, we're starting on concert B flat, C, D, E flat, F, our F scale. The first group of 4 would be F, F sharp, G, G sharp. Now, these fingerings are going to be the same whether you're playing a single or a double horn. The only difference is on double, you're just going to add in that thumb valve, and from this G sharp on, that thumb valve needs to stay on. From this G sharp all the way to the top of the staff, any high notes you would play, anything past this G sharp, you want to keep that thumb valve on. That's to switch us over to the B flat side of the horn, and that's just the side of the horn that makes these notes kind of speak a little easier. Now, if you're on a single horn, don't stress, because the sound of an F horn is really the tone that people think of when they think of French horn, and the tone that people prefer if they can tell the difference. The F horn also is really good because it's a little bit harder for you, but that makes you much more reliant on your ears and your embouchure to get a great sound out. So don't stress about whether you have a single or a double horn. I'll go through the fingerings for each of them, and we don't need to stress because there's benefits and drawbacks to playing either one. So, starting out, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, Same as if you have a single horn, just don't use a thumb valve because you don't have one. If you have a double horn, push the thumb valve here and keep it on for the rest of the scale until we come back down. Let's take that first group of 4. I will play it first, and then you can repeat in the next rep. Okay? 1, 2, ready. Nice slow tempo, and I'm just slurring through these. Let's play this time together. Slur those 4 notes, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. That's our first group of 4. Let's play it one last time. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. Now, if you'll notice, we're only using half steps and we're hitting every note you've probably encountered in your life, okay? So F, F sharp, G, G sharp. On the way up the scale, a lot of people like to think of each note adding a sharp because that's easy for them. So that's how I'm going to be explaining the note names. Sharps on the way up, flats on the way down. Once you learn the pattern, you may or may not think of flats or sharps in that way, but it's helpful as a tool when you're first learning the chromatic scale. Now, if that was our first group of 4, the next group of 4 is starting a half step up, which is going to be A. So starting on A, and remember, thumb valve stays on from here on out, double horn players. Starting on A, B flat, B, C. Same fingerings for single horn, just without the valve, the thumb valve. So A, and this would be A sharp if I was speaking in sharps, B, C, which, like I said, you might not think of it in either pattern, but I will explain them in sharps, or try to remember. So I'm just going to play that. I'm going to slur those 4 notes up. You can listen and join in on the second round. 1, 2, ready. Okay, let's play that together. 1, 2, ready. Great. Now, just like it's good to break things into chunks, it's good to assemble them back together. Let's play the first 8 notes of our chromatic scale. So, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B natural, C. I'll play it first, and then you can join in the second time. 1, 2, ready. Awesome. Let's play that together. 1, 2, ready. Good. You'll notice that the chromatic kind of half step motion, it sounds a little creepy to me. You'll also notice that the intervals are really close together. You can probably keep your embouchure basically the same. You don't really have to change or think between notes, which is why it's good to slur them to make sure your motion is really smooth going up there. You don't want to hear any gaps in your sound. You want your air to fill in between each note. Great. Now, da, 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 da. The last note we played is our C, and the last group of 4 notes is coming up, so they're going to start on C sharp, okay? For single, this is tricky. Your C sharp is going to be 1, 2. Okay, so I'll go double first. The double fingers for this last group of 4 up to that top F is C sharp, D, D sharp, E natural. Okay, so that was 4, and then the top note is back to F. So C sharp, D, D sharp, E natural. And if you're playing a single horn, C sharp, D, sorry. And if you're playing a single horn, C sharp, D, E, and if you're playing a single horn, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Sorry, I stuttered a little bit there. C sharp, D, D sharp, E is going to be the fingers up there. So I will start, I'm going to play the double fingerings, and I'm going to play that top 4 before we get to that top F. Starting on C sharp, 1, 2, we're ready. Let's play it together, starting on C sharp, 1, 2, we're ready. And a third time, I'm going to play single fingerings, 1, 2, I'm ready. Good. Now let's play all the 12 notes all the way up, and we're going to hit that top F, which is back to 1, but the fingering for that is going to be just trigger for double horns or just first valve, okay? So we're going to play the whole scale all the way up to that top F. Here we go. 1, 2, ready. Good, I had some cracks in there, and we could all use the extra practice. So let's do one more rep through that, just our ascending chromatic scale going all the way up to that top F, concert B flat. And it's okay to take a breath in here. I took mine right after that C. That could be a good place for you as well. 1, 2, ready. Good, so we have the whole ascending chromatic scale. So now that we learned the concert B flat chromatic ascending portion of the chromatic scale, we're going to start at the top and work our way down for the descending portion. Now you'll remember that on the way up, people tend to think in sharps, each note is being sharped. On the way down, people tend to add flats. But as I said before, you're probably going to think of that in a completely new way anyway, so don't stress. Just for learning purposes now, I'm going to say the note names as flats. It can be kind of tricky to start on that top F, so I'm just going to give you some advice to start up there, and so that hopefully we can work forward from the scale starting at the top and descending. So it's important for horn players, for every note, not just high ones, to hear the note before we play. So to do that for this top F, since I don't have a piano with me, I'm going to play the lower octave F and sing the upper one so that I can hear it. So here's the lower octave F. Good, and I have to hear an octave in my head. Da. This is that top F. And the note I'm trying to hit, it's right here, F. So you want to sing da, da. So sing that note to yourself. Da. It can be awkward to sing sometimes, but it's really important and informative for brass players to sing. It helps us hear the notes in our head, as I said, to audiate. It also helps us feel how our bodies should feel when we sing, is how they should feel when we play. We should feel very relaxed. So when you sing, try to take account of how you feel, nice and open, relaxed, and mimic that when you play. So now, as we know, mouthpiece buzzing is really helpful. So I'm going to do a siren from that lower F up to the top F, okay? As I ascend, I'm thinking of speeding my air up and letting my embouchure sort of be relaxed but still be able to get the note out. When you get to the top part, the top F, you want to think of the airspeed you're using and of how your embouchure feels so that it's easier to recreate that later for yourself. So now I'm going to siren up, and then I'm going to try to attack right on that top F. And I'm trying to remember how it feels to articulate up there. Now I'm going to try to attack right on that top F, keeping things nice and open. I'm not trying to tense up anything that I don't need to. Good. And range is not built overnight. So if you're really struggling with that note, go to whatever note you can play and play it very relaxed and work your way up. So maybe for you that's only a C, and you just have to play a C relaxed and work your way up chromatically to where you can attack that F and stay relaxed. Now we're going to work down that second half of the scale. Remember not to stress if this is a little out of your range, because remember the chromatic scale can start anywhere. So we're just going to work down this half of the scale, but then I'm also going to start it on other pitches so that we can practice, like I said, starting on any note. So starting on that top F, descending, remember double horn players will have the thumb valve on. We're going to go F, E, E flat, D. Okay, I'll play this first and then you can join in. Ready? Together. 1, 2, ready? Good. If we're on D, a half step down is C sharp on double or C sharp. Okay, so now we're going to play, or rather D flat, C, B, B flat. Or, yes, D flat, C, B, B flat. I'll play it first, then you can join in. You can join in this time. This should be back within your range if you were struggling with those high notes, so you can feel free to join in here and practice playing relaxed right here. 1, starting on C sharp, descending. 1, 2, ready. One more time for me. 1, 2, ready. Good. We stopped on B flat. So the next note, grouping below that, we'll start on A flat, G, and G flat. Now remember, double horn players, from this A flat or G sharp, from this A flat to the G is where you let go of the thumb valve. So we are starting on this A flat, G, G flat. 1, 2, ready. One more time. 1, 2, ready. Good. And you'll notice the only note we have left is that last F, which isn't included because it would be 13 or technically 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit faster that whole octave ascending and descending chromatic scale so you can hear what it sounds like all put together. But remember, in real life, it's okay if it takes you practice and a little bit of time to get this up to tempo. Always practice slow first. I'm just showing you this so you can hear the finished product. Good. And I tried to do that all in one breath, nice and slow, and you want to think very precisely with your fingers. Now we said the chromatic scale can start on any pitch, so I would feel free, if I were you, when you look at the scale sheet, to try to practice it starting on any note. For example, one note that I think is really good to start on for the chromatic scale would be starting on our C or concert F. Okay, so here's the chromatic scale starting on our C. You'll notice it's the same pattern of fingers. You just have to learn where it starts and think about the half steps starting from there. if I were you, I would practice this concert B flat chromatic scale. Remember that it's only half steps, so you can start anywhere and you can start on any note you choose, and to just keep at it and keep learning slowly the right way so that you're practicing properly and really making good use of your time. Remember that if you need to consult a fingering chart, you should go ahead and do so. Make sure it's for your horn, whether you have a single horn or a double horn. Double horn fingerings will have that thumb valve listed as T. And you can tell if you have two sets of valves or two sets of tubing for your valves, you have a double horn. If you only have one set of these types of tubes, you have a single horn. Another way to tell is if you have the thumb valve. So it's good to use a fingering chart if you need it, and it's fine to write them in as long as you're using that as a tool and not relying on it. If you ever write in a fingering, make sure you're practicing really hard to memorize that fingering with that note so that eventually, hopefully soon, you won't have to write in the fingerings all the time anymore. But it's a good tool to have when you're first learning all the fingerings for our notes. So thank you guys for tuning in to the mini masterclass for horn for today, and I will